All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SusieQ FitLife with our monthly Monday series, and it's with Autism Fitness. And I am here with Eric, who you've seen already.
Hi.
Last month. Eric, hello. Say hi to everyone.
Hey, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry for the technical glitch. We had, when I say we again, I always say that to you, Eric. It's like we had some problems. No, it was me.
That's okay. It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. He's so nice, so classy. So thank you so much, Eric, for joining us. For those of you who missed the very first broadcast last month, it was actually an introduction to Autism Fitness and learning a lot more about Eric's background and his involvement and how he came about in starting Autism Fitness and being a founder. Mm-hmm. Eric has also done a lot of speaking engagements, and he has done talks with TEDx, and just an overall great guy, knowledgeable and high energy. And I'm telling you, it's great to have you here. We're so excited to be able to do this series with you. Again, it is every second Monday of the month at 6 p.m. And we thank you all for waiting, and so glad that we could be here with you guys and to share in on some of this great information during COVID-19, because we are still going through a pandemic. Yeah. Everyone's still wearing masks, and some people are wearing gloves, and you have to be very careful. And we're doing everything remotely and doing this fitness, through a distance, and being able to receive the coaching and the training and the certification necessary for parents, for teachers, for therapists, and trainers, personal trainers. So definitely, Eric, please tell us a little bit more about Autism Fitness and the PEC system.
Yeah, and you brought up something that is so pertinent to what we're going to be discussing ongoing. We are still in the midst of the COVID pandemic, but autism doesn't stop. And if we are diligent about it, and if we're proactive about it, fitness doesn't stop. Whether we're talking about in person or virtually. And I was asking you earlier, because you had mentioned your kids also in this hybrid model, and depending on where you are in the world or in the United States, even district by district, the way that education is going about, or the way that education is being conducted right now, varies. And my big question, my big concern is what's going on with adapted PE. How is adapted PE being run, and what is being provided for individuals on the autism spectrum or with related developmental disabilities? And is their program ongoing? And if so, what does that program look like? And what are the struggles? What are the obstacles? Is it a parent running their program now, or is it an adapted PE coach who might be struggling either virtually in person to deliver the best possible programming?
Now, Eric, just before you move on, you let everyone know what adaptive PE is for people that are lost and they may not realize, wait a minute.
I'll give you the general, and then I'll give you our specific definition also. So adapted PE is adapted physical education. So that can take a few different forms. What it is, there are federal and state mandates that all students are required to have a certain amount of physical education in their curriculum. When we have students with special needs, they too are mandated to have a physical education curriculum. And often they have what's called an IEP, which is an individual education program. So they have specific goals that are specific to their needs and abilities within that physical education curriculum. All right.
Yes.
So when we talk about adapted PE or APA or APE for those of us who are being trendy about it or in the know about it, the question is, number one, what is the mandate? Number two, what is, if there's an IEP, how is that being carried out? And third, what is this individual, what does the student really need? What's going to benefit them the most? And so specifically when we talk I'll give you some insider stuff with Autism Fitness. The reality is that if we are looking at physical education as education, all physical education it should be adapted, because if you take a room full of 15 or 20 or 25 students of any age, they're all going to have a range of abilities. They're all going to have a range of motivation. So in order for them to progress, in order for them to have what they need, we really, even in a group situation, we need to have an individual understanding of where everybody's at. So we look at that as a priority in our Autism Fitness programming for the population as a whole. And then when we're breaking down a curriculum for an individual, looking at, well, what are their baseline abilities and where can we go from that point?
Yes, of course. Now, of course, you know what? I wanted to make sure that while you were speaking, I'm like making sure we have our Facebook watch party. So I'm actually going back to my Facebook page to make sure that people are aware that this is going on. I really don't want people to miss you, Eric, because you have so much great information to share with us. And I think that we can all use it. We can all benefit from it. I know that you really specialize in not just children, but adults, people of all ages.
Yeah.
So it's something that really can impact and affect everyone for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk about that as the one miscommunication or the one misunderstanding about Autism Fitness. If someone will see it and they'll say, oh, Autism Fitness is doing great work with children on the autism spectrum. And I'll say, well, actually, a lot of our work is with teens and adolescents and adults, because we're looking at fitness as a lifelong skill. And I think people are almost pre-programmed to associate anything movement or anything therapy-based or anything activity-based with the younger demographic when we're talking about autism or special needs. But the reality is, fitness is a lifelong skill. And if we're looking at it from the perspective of where do we need to start, or is there a cutoff point at which we're starting? Absolutely not. In fact, the majority of the athletes that I've worked with in my career, I've started with them when they are in their late teens and when they're in their early 20s. And I think that's something that is really important to get across, is this is not just workout programs or exercise programs for kids on the autism spectrum. Can we have a powerful impact for that younger age range? Absolutely. But we can have just as much benefit for adolescents and teens. And if you look at the demographics that don't have and the age groups that don't have access to a lot of movement activities, it's one thing when we talk about younger individuals. When we talk about individuals on the autism spectrum in their teens, in their 20s, there's really not a lot out there. And I'm sure many parents watching this can attest to that also. And the other side of that is understanding the needs of those individuals and having fitness programs that are not just a bunch of movements thrown together, but a really well planned out fitness program that not only meets them where they're at right now, but has goals that are set and met.
Yes, of course, which is important. Now, of course, we're talking about all of this movement, all of these, the benefits of working out and being able to move your body. One thing that this pandemic has brought on is it's really caging a lot of people in their household, and they have this cabin fever and they're stuck and they're not able to work out and be able to express and relieve themselves of all of this energy. And sometimes anxiety builds, frustration builds, and people are not, well, they're maybe a little more quick to lose their temper in situations. And we're seeing that happen around the globe. And it's something that shouldn't be underestimated, that importance of the element of being able to physically move your body and to really be able to release a lot of the stress and tension that can
Sure.
build up, especially when you're not in motion for such a long time.
Yeah, and I think there are two poles to that also, because when I speak with parents, it's typically one or the other in opposite extremes. It's my son or my daughter, they're super active. They're all over the place. They're running around. They're jumping on the couch or walking in circles. And I want a fitness program that's going to give them something more structured and more functional to do, to take this energy and to funnel it into something that's going to benefit them now and benefit them long term. And then I get the other side also of that email that comes into my inbox that says, my son or my daughter hates to exercise and they don't want to get up off the couch. What do I do? But it's important to know that in either of those cases and everything in between, we can have a plan. And that you alluded earlier to the PAC profile, which is our methodology that I developed for implementing fitness and physical education programs with this population. And that's just because it's not enough to just know, okay, well, what exercises to do, but how to implement them meaningfully so that whoever's implementing them, whether it's me or a parent at home, is getting the most out of that, and that the athlete that they're working with is getting the most out of that also. So we're not dealing just with extremes. We're not dealing with just the middle. We're dealing with everything that can possibly come up because we have a plan for it.
Yes, I like that. I like that you have a plan. Now, when you mentioned your index card, you have that box, and you've got like it's like a box of tricks.
The box of concepts, right here.
Yes. So, I mean, it sounds like it's something that you've had since the 80s. So,
yeah, well, the box of concepts, and that's something that I do on our Instagram Live and our Facebook Live.
I've been watching.
We'll probably get kicked off because I'm talking about Instagram now.
No, you're all platforms.
So the box, I found this, and I don't keep a lot of stuff. So I tend to, one of my favorite activities is throwing away stuff that I don't use anymore. Yeah. This is from my behavior science class from like 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I took out a stack of cards and I said, ooh, this is great to relive some of these and go over these concepts. And I thought, you know what? This was the kind of the genesis of some of the programming for Autism Fitness, especially on the adaptive and cognitive side. So let me just randomly draw from these cards, talk about that concept in relation to what we do in our Autism Fitness programming. So I will go usually right now bi-weekly on Facebook and start a live video and just pull. I completely honestly just pull one of these from random and just start talking about that concept and how it leads back to what we're doing in our Autism Fitness programming. So it's been fun for me because there's a little bit of a challenge to it, and there's a little surprise element as well because I don't know what card I'm picking.
Okay, which is really good. You're going to be caught off guard no matter what you pick. And one thing that parents have been saying since they watched our first show, they were like, are we going to be able to see Eric do some exercises? Is he going to show us something? And I'm like, okay, it's coming. Just wait, be patient. It's coming.
That, Susie, is why this evening I am not only showing one, but two exercises that we use in the warm-up section of our Autism Fitness programming, and I'm going to make them accessible. So even if you don't have any equipment, then you can still do them, right? So I wanted to leave it as no excuses whatsoever. So you don't have equipment, can still move, and we can move. It's not just about moving, but it's about moving meaningfully also.
Yes. Okay. Well, we can't wait. I mean, I don't know. Is there going to be a teaser as to which warm-up exercise you're going to do so that people can see? Because I mean, I know many people, as soon as they see something, they may want to try something.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's leave some space for that. So right before that, I'll talk a little bit about the PAC profile and how we do things with Autism Fitness,
Okay.
because that's also going to lead into how we're going to program at home for success. Because particularly for parents, if both the parents and the athlete are learning the exercise at the same time, then the parent has to learn it and then turn around and then deliver it, right? And do this quick take.
And
so
this
I
is
like
happening now too.
Yeah.
And you,
so I like to do I like to do a little pre-teaching, so that we have parent coaches who are ready, who are able, who are confident in delivering each exercise. Yeah.
I'm ready. we're going to be ready.
Right.
Everyone grab your notepad and start writing.
So I'm going to talk about the PAC profile for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to show our 2 exercises. Then you and I'll chat a little bit more if there are, and mind you, I can't see the Facebook feed right now because
no worries.
Zoom. Yeah, if there are any questions that come in, I am happy to answer those.
Okay.
So the PAC profile, I'll talk about this quickly, is the methodology that I developed because we know, as parents and professionals, that when we're talking about and working with and supporting and caring for the autism population, we're not just dealing with the physical. So if I came on, Susie, and I just said, here are the top 10 exercises to use with the autism population. Here you go. Here's a PDF. Go. It would seem cool until we had what is typically the case where we have to consider adaptive or behavioral obstacles and cognitive considerations. And now it's not just about high and low. So, I have a high functioning 17-year-old, or I have a low functioning 26-year-old. The cool thing is I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care about low or high functioning. What I care about is how best are they going to learn this particular exercise? What language do I use or not use? What coaching cues do I use or not use? So it's all this, I call it the funnel to fitness, funneling down to what we actually need to deliver to our athletes. So PAC is physical, adaptive, that's the behavioral, and then cognitive. So what exercise do we use, right? To what progression or regression? So how challenging, how simplified? Because if we just make something more and more challenging, it doesn't mean that our athlete is going to derive any benefit from it. It's just harder. And people who know me and who go through the Autism Fitness curriculum know that I'm very adamant about technique. I want things to be performed properly so that they are safe and so that they are effective.
Free of injury. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, also knowing, the term, and I'm sure you've seen it, the term low tone comes up constantly with this population. So meaning that they have general deficits in strength. So if I start giving them a strength exercise that's right now too complex or challenging for them, it's not as though it's not like a slightly bigger t-shirt that they're going to grow into. You have to make sure that the movement fits their current level of ability. And that's what we do when we're doing a PAC profile assessment. Okay. In addition to that, we're looking at the level of motivation. So how motivated is this individual to do one of the exercises that I'm going to demonstrate in a minute from now, right? That's going to give us information about how we can provide the best possible behavior support. And then cognitively, what I'm doing my detective work on is figuring out, okay, do they need a full physical prompt? Do they need a mirror prompt? What language am I using around that? And those 3 areas of ability are going to give me the answers that I need and give parents the answers that they need in order to create a program that actually works, where parents will turn around afterwards and say, wow, I had no idea that my son or my daughter was capable of doing that, because we've set the structure in a way that only leads to success. So I've taken a little more than 2 minutes.
As parents, we could probably even underestimate the ability. Thinking, oh, well, my child never does this, or they don't do that. They're not interested, and they stop before they even start.
Yeah. My plea is always, let me show you what's possible.
Okay, that's what you're going to do right now, right?
Yeah. So let me show you. We're going to do two. These are in our warm up. So we have, and you don't have to memorize all this. I'm just giving you some an overview of how we program in Autism Fitness. We have 4 phases of exercise that we use in any of our sessions. So we have warm up and mobility. We have dynamic movement. We have strength and stability, and we have games and preferred activities. So that's kind of that's the structure of our sessions. If we're going, 45 or 55 minutes, which is usually the length of time that I'll run a session, or any of our certified pros will run a session. So these are both exercises in our warm up and mobility section. The whole purpose of warm up and mobility is just that, getting the body ready for more challenging movement and warming up the joints, warming up the muscles, getting a little bit of movement going. Now, one of the things that we know tends to be an issue, tends to be a hindrance, tends to be a deficit in this population is hip mobility. And that often presents as gait pattern, whether we see internally rotated hips, meaning the hips and we see the feet turning in, or externally rotated hips and feet, where we see the feet turning out. One of the things that is really important is increasing hip mobility a little bit. So usually we have hurdle steps that we have our athletes step over, but we can do these without hurdle steps here. And I'm just going to demonstrate. Mind you, my dog might get excited here and start.
Oh, we didn't even see
moving
dog.
around. So we're going to do hurdle or marching steps here. So all I'm going to do, I'll do it forward facing, and then I'll do it side facing. So just getting the knees up here. So we want knees going about 90 degrees. Right?
Okay.
And I'll do the side version here. So we have our marching step, and the idea is to keep the body,
Well, a little high, a little high.
A little high. There we go. To keep the body upright. And here we go. Right?
Yeah.
Across. Now, what I know, because I've seen it so many times, about our athletes with autism, and by the way, and I know I interject a lot here.
No, that's okay.
When we talk about athletes, our definition of athlete with Autism Fitness is if you are moving on a regular basis, and if you are progressing, to us, you're an athlete. So we don't call the individuals that we work with our clients, right? They're our athletes. Yeah. So some of the things that we'll see with our athletes is we'll see some issues with hip mobility and hip flexion. So we might see this. This is internal rotation. So you see these hips all kinds of locked up and they're turning. So when we see that, what we need to do is provide what we call a regression, or simplify the exercise, because more is not better. More is just more. So if we see, if we start seeing this, we say, okay, well, what we're going to do is lower the step a little bit and maybe do lower marching steps here, because we're still creating some hip flexibility. It's just not exacerbating or creating more of an issue there.
To avoid that rotation, which
exactly, because
to tightness.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're doing, so we might have an athlete, and this is interesting, because this is where we have to separate the physical and the adaptive. So from an adaptive perspective, if we have an athlete at home who is super motivated and they'll do their hurdle steps, or they'll do marching steps all day, but they're doing this, from an adaptive perspective, Susie, they're all on board. Like they're fully invested in it. They're motivated, but they can do that 100 times and it's not going to provide them any benefit, because we are teaching it or having them do it at a level that their physiology is not yet capable of handling. So that's what we call a compensation. The body is doing it, but it's not doing it in a way that's really going to benefit that individual. So we have to take it down a couple notches, which is, there's no shame in that, and it's not a problem. We're all starting where we start.
And meeting at that person, that individual's level.
We're meeting them where they're at, because I want to get them to where they can go.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great plan. Now, I notice you're doing this in your bare feet. no
Yes.
box. Do
Yes.
you have a preference of what you want many of your athletes to do? Like what
Whatever,
you do?
whatever they're comfortable with, except shaky footwear. So shaky footwear would be anything like a sandal or like a pair of Crocs, anything where the foot is going to start moving around, where it could be a stability issue,
Okay.
right?
I ask
So
sometimes sensory,
yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's tactile.
Barefoot is awesome. Socks are okay, except not on a linoleum floor where there's a slipping hazard. You use your judgment in terms of the surface. When I'm here at home, I'm always barefoot anyway. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So
Seen that
hurdle
in
steps.
videos.
Yes. So the hurdle steps, great warm up exercise. We're getting the hips ready for if we're doing squats later on, which might be one of our future exercises that we deploy here. And also for our athletes who we know, if they're sitting a lot during the day, they need that hip mobility. And if we think about everything we think about in terms of how can we progress this later on, right? So that basic hurdle step, we can turn that into a lot of different things, but we have to get the prerequisite down. And an easy way to describe this is we're usually not doing algebra or trigonometry or any higher order, more advanced math until we have basic arithmetic down, right? So it's not about surpassing everything so that we can get to this this really challenging or this really advanced point. It's about what can we do right now and what is the logical next step based on how someone moves. That's all I care about.
Yes, yes. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a good way to marching, knees up, a great way to enter a program.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get some locomotion out of it also, getting from point A to point B, a little bit of moving around.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two is our overhead walk. Now, I absolutely love resistance bands, and I've got this really cool neon pink one here. So the overhead walk, similar to what happens with the hips also, where we get a lot of internal rotation, some parents will likely recognize this posture. We get a lot of forward shoulder rotate. Yeah. And that can come from sitting. It can come from inactivity. And what that means, what that means is that upper back musculature and that upper spine, what we refer to as the thoracic spine,
Yes.
they're getting a little lax, right? And when this starts to happen, the issue with this, number one, from a posture perspective, everybody can recognize that this is not, the best posture. But from a quality of life standpoint, also, if I'm really internally rotated, eventually I'm probably going to have a little bit of shoulder pain in the anterior or the front here. I might eventually have some neck pain too. And when we're talking about our nonverbal autism population or those with limited expressive language, it's really got to suck to be in pain or be in discomfort and not be able to convey that also. So that's something that I look at. I look at this as a preventative measure. So a lot of fitness, we have a proactive and we have a reactive quality to it also. So we have this reactive quality where we start to see this kyphotic or internal rotation. And then we have a proactive quality where, if we start doing this at an early age or even in adolescent and teen years, we're going to avoid shoulder and neck pain when that individual is 30 or 35 or 40. So we're setting a great precedent for their future where we're able to avoid a movement or medical complication that will otherwise develop.
You're looking at the big picture. How do you find that you are able to communicate and move along with that nonverbal athlete? Is that something that you find challenging, or are you just kind of relying on your nonverbal physical cues to be able to instruct and to guide them?
That's an awesome question. Awesome question. Well, first, what we have to do is make the distinction between expressive language and receptive language.
Okay.
because I've had plenty of athletes who maybe will get a 1 or 2 word sentence, but they understand every last direction
Absolutely.
that
They
I'm
do.
giving them.
It's true.
The second part of that is with exercise in particular, or anything movement based. We have a mantra in Autism Fitness. We have several, but this one in particular is label, demonstrate, do, and cue. So
Okay.
the process is label the exercise. So I'll take it right here for those of you who are waiting for me to do this.
Okay.
So when I label this, we're doing an overhead band walk. So that's all. I will tell my athlete, okay, overhead band walk. So I'm labeling the exercise. Number 2, I'm demonstrating the exercise. So arms up, overhead walk. So that's my demonstration. So label, demonstrate, and then I allow the athlete to perform the exercise. I want as little time spent explaining and as much time spent doing, because from there, and a few things might happen. The athlete might pull the band all the way apart, and even though they're getting their arms up overhead, I want their arms in closer a little bit. That's why I wind up folding the band for them, or having them fold the band themselves. The other thing that's very common, remember earlier that I mentioned how those shoulders kind of internally rotate there? So
Yes.
what we'll see with the band is their arms will start folding forward here a little bit.
Yeah.
Very similar to this internal hip rotation that we see with that hurdle step or with that marching step. What we call compensatory movement with this overhead is the arm starting to fade or fold forward a little bit. Right? So as soon as the athlete performs that overhead walk and I see, oh, the arms are coming forward a little bit, I can make an adjustment for them so that they're getting what they need to get out of the movement. So that's my job as a coach, is to set it up so that they're successful with it. What the overhead walk should look like is arms up. I usually say band over the ears, and we're walking forward. All right. So if you don't have a band, this is something where we can supplement with a jump rope. We can supplement with, whatever you've got that resembles a band. Usually it helps if we have something in both hands, because we can create tension. And that tension is what is going to, number 1, strengthen that upper back musculature. And number 2, grip. Grip is a huge issue with the autism population. So whenever we can enhance grip skills and have a full 5-finger grip, and I know that the OTs out there are with me on this one. Whenever we can enhance grip, it's a party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether it's just to make sure that all fingers are engaged in squeezing, or
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Strengthen that hand. So when we strengthen, we can and eventually generalize that to other skills, because the whole point of fitness is, particularly for this population, is what skills can we build that will generalize to activities of daily living. And again, there are proactive and reactive benefits to that. But my whole thing is, if it happens in the gym with me, awesome. But I'm really concerned about it happening out there in the real world.
Okay. Okay. And also, I was going to say that I know that you, with Autism Fitness, you're certifying many people, like personal trainers or parents. And
well, our parents in the curriculum are awesome, because not only have they built confidence to work with their own children of many ages and ability levels, but some of them have started venturing out and offering their services to other individuals too. So our parent crew of certified pros, they're just tremendous.
Yes, because what I wanted to say is that when you are certifying, because I've worked with so many trainers, being a trainer, and I would say that sometimes it takes a certain person to work with the when you're dealing with the autism community. You want to make sure that you have a certain level of patience, that understanding, that type of I guess being able to accept that person, and maybe some quirks and different displays of emotion or reaction that may not look like the neurotypical person
Yeah. Yeah.
react or respond to certain things. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a sense of community that we have. One of the things that I'm so proud of in our Autism Fitness community of certified pros is that this term goes around a lot, is that they get it, is that we get it. So then when we're in a closed group together watching a video of one of my athletes or one of our other certified pros athletes engaging in a maladaptive or an off-task behavior or something that someone might look at and say, what is going on here? We look at that and say, oh yeah, I've got one that does that. Or say, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Okay, well, and then let's break it down. Because the thing that we do such a great job of is really respecting the individuals that we serve, first and foremost as human beings, and saying, look, it's all human movement, it's all human behavior. With this population, there are absolutely some particular considerations and some things you have to know. I'm not just saying, well, they're all human beings, so we can just go about it the same way. No, that is not the case. But when we look at it as, okay, well, we're seeing potential meltdown behavior, we're seeing off-task behavior. That's not a lost cause. It's a question saying, okay, well, why, what is the purpose of this behavior? What's going on? How can we provide positive behavior support? And how can we, in respecting our athlete, it means that we have expectations for them. Now, those expectations are going to differ a little bit depending on the athlete, but everybody, I have to say that everybody who goes through the curriculum and passes their exam and becomes a certified pro, they're all in, because I think they have a really good understanding of who they're serving and what some of the considerations might be, but they understand that this is it's such an important body of work, and it's such an important skill and practice to bring to this population. So we have some very intrepid parents and professionals who are delivering the curriculum.
Are there sometimes, has there been an instance where maybe you have an individual that might not be the right type of person to work with people within the community that?
Yeah, but I think they filter themselves out, because the person who looks at the Autism Fitness certification because they want to get, CEU credits, that's not the type of person we get. And we've been told, and I kind of like this, that our exam is the hardest one that many trainers or professionals have taken, because not only is it, some multiple choice questions, but they also have to do video review. They have to do short answers. They have to submit 2 videos to, I'm not even grading the exams anymore. It's our level 1 grading team.
Oh, is that to make you more likable, Eric?
No, I don't want to be, I don't want to be likable. I just want to be understood. That's it.
Okay, all right. Listen, as we all do, everyone wants to be understood.
Well, in terms of the message and in terms of the methodology.
Okay.
If people don't look, I don't know how I could make myself unlikable in terms of, I'm saying that there is an oncoming health crisis with the autism population. If we don't start prioritizing fitness and physical activity, because the statistics for that and the research for that is already there. So if that makes me unlikable for bringing that news to the attention of as many people as possible, I'll take that in order to convey the information, because we also happen to have a system that is the solution for it as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's wonderful about everything that you're doing with Autism Fitness and kind of increasing this awareness is that I believe that it makes people within the society just more accepting, and we really want to see them embracing many of these athletes or individuals, because everyone, it's just as what you said, being misunderstood, or just wanting to have that feeling of acceptance.
Yeah.
And especially if you feel that you may feel like a fish out of water where you don't have that communication or you don't have the same physical abilities as as other people.
Sure.
You may have that type of feel inadequate or feeling low self-esteem and maybe not having that confidence. And
Yep.
and so that's why I think it's really wonderful what you're doing and bringing that out of people of all ages.
Thank you.
Great to see, and being able to help calm us parents, because I think there's many parents that you can speak to where it's like, oh my goodness, if I have to tell this child one more time,
Yep.
to sit down or to listen, or and it's just I think it helps to alleviate a lot of that stress, a lot of that tension, and that's something that I think is, truly important.
Sure. And not only the idea of or these possibilities or hope, you know, I say forget hope.
To
Let's start moving, and let's actually demonstrate what this individual is capable of.
yes,
Give us a few sessions, and we'll give you something that is real, and something that is a foundation that this individual can have their entire life. But let's, before we go into anything else, so let's go through a couple different sets, and what I'll show
mhm.
are some progressions and some regressions for each one of those
And I
exercises.
should tell you this, Eric, that this comment just coming in from Miss Mustafa Kaniz is
Yep.
thanks for the exercise ideas. So I think it's something that she'll probably implement and try to use, which is great. So looking forward to seeing what else you have, because there's some teasers for what's going to
Yes.
be happening in the month of November, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to get into some more of our warm-up exercises, and I'll pull out some things that we can also do at home with limited equipment. We also offer through our partners Perform Better. We offer an Autism Fitness parent package of some of the equipment that we think is really essential in programming. And the great thing about the stuff in the equipment package is, and I'll give you a link afterwards to send out, is that it is progressible, it is regressible. It's not something that you'll just use once or twice and then say, oh, they graduated to the next thing. We can use it all throughout programming, because that's the kind of stuff that I like, that we can continue to use it and continue to progress where we need to progress. So one more time, I want to go through these. We'll go through the hurdle or the marching steps first, the hurdle-free hurdle steps. And next time, I'll bring out the hurdles also and show you how we use those. But the forward hurdle.
And I'm going to see if I can give you full screen here. I'm going to try it. Hopefully it translates onto.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And let me know if you see it, Eric. Do you see yourself?
I have it on gallery view.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
So this hurdle step, and a great thing, and I haven't mentioned this yet, I'm going to talk as I do this hurdle step, counting. So if we have an athlete and we're showing them the hurdle step or the marching step the first time, they might not know where the starting point and where the ending point might be. So this is where we can get creative too. And I can just take two different colored circles or two pieces of paper, and I can have a green piece of paper here, red piece of paper here. So that's our starting and stopping point as well. Or we can do it by counting, right? So we can do, 4 marching steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that can be it. And then turn around and then 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that could be our baseline, where we start with our athlete and we can say, all right, we're starting with 4 hurdle steps. And if they can do that, or their 4 marching steps, if they can do that, then we say, all right, let's build it up to 6. And now now we're probably not going to build it up to 50, but once we have, I'll get a little advanced here. Once we have what we call baseline mastery. So with hurdle steps, for example, we have an athlete who can step over 5 hurdles in a row. So that's 10 total steps.
Yes.
Then we say, okay, we can progress this because they've shown that they have mastery over this skill. Like the prerequisite is set. They know 5 plus 5 is 10. They know 12 plus 12 is 24. They've got it. We can move on. All right. So we know once an athlete has that prerequisite, we can pass go and move it to something else. But if they're not doing that just yet, that's fine. We just keep them where they are so that they can develop the skill. And again, that regression that we can do is just those lower steps right here. So just knees up when they're stepping. Now, sometimes it's helpful if we have a visual on the floor, right? Because our athlete may not associate the term knees up with doing this. So I might take a band and put it on the floor here and just have the athlete step over just to get their knees up. That's a fine start.
Yeah.
Right? So with that overhead, so there we have, if we wanted to go into a progression, like make that marching step more challenging, we can just add repetitions to that. So we can go from 4 total steps to 6 to 8. And then next time, and I do want some feedback from those of you watching this now and those of you watching it later, how'd it go, right? Because if it went really well, if they say, yeah, they were hurdle stepping or doing marching steps all over the house, all right, I'll give you some progressions for that. If we need to regress it, the key to having a really good exercise is how progressible is it? How regressible is it? Does it still maintain its integrity of what it's supposed to do? So let's go with that overhead walk now. Now, if you have a band or if you have an object that you can turn into a band, awesome. Number 1 is the grip, all right? So I'll have my athletes grip with their fingers on the band as much as possible. So we have a little wider than shoulder width.
Okay.
Here. And we want full extension. I'll turn here. So my arms are all the way up, which can be a challenge for a lot of this population too, right?
Yeah.
So starting back here, I've got my arms overhead, and we want to maintain tension back there. So we can tell our athlete, pull it apart. And we'll see one of 2 things, right? Again, we'll either see this starting to fold forward. Now, if that happens, again, we want to modify or regress the exercise. So I might have the athlete grab the band a little bit wider. We don't want to go all the way out here.
Yeah.
For some technical physiological reasons. It's not going to hurt, but it's not going to help. A little wider outside of shoulder width, and they can do this. But the keys here are as much range of motion or as much stretch overhead as possible, and then creating tension on that band. If you don't have absolutely, you know what? I'm going to improvise completely here. I have my favorite, my favorite light jacket here.
Okay.
I can do this overhead with the light jacket right here. You know, when we're substituting equipment, we have to be careful also, because we know that this population can tend to either undergeneralize or overgeneralize. So for example, when we talk about, we do a lot of medicine ball throw activities in Autism Fitness. So with that, that's kind of, with that piece of equipment, I say, it's important to have that piece of equipment because I don't want our athletes to start taking, like, let's say a pillow, for example, and using it for a medicine ball throw, because number 1, it's not going to have the same effect. And number 2, you're going to have pillows going all the way around the house also. So sometimes it's important to have that particular piece of equipment, but where we can substitute and where it makes sense to substitute, I'll give those substitutions also.
Listen, if they're throwing pillows, that would be a relief. That would be a...
All right. Yeah. We can add a pillow slam.
Yeah. Oh my
God. To that as well.
But that looks good, Eric. It looks like you have definitely been able to work out right throughout the pandemic. We've seen you at the gym and being able to take care of yourself and I guess you take care of yourself in order to take care of others and other athletes. So they have
for me, you know, it's a lifestyle. This is what I do. So for me, it's so ingrained at this point too. So, you know, the idea of, I got to get up and go to the gym. What am I doing in the gym?
Yes.
today also.
That looks great. So listen, you said you may have a few teasers for us for next week. Next for our
Yeah.
session next month. That would be
Yeah.
November 9th at 6 o'clock.
On November 9th, I think we're going to go over our bear walk and crawl patterns, which can have a really great benefit for those of our athletes who have limited trunk stability, are often diagnosed with low tone. These are some great exercises, and you don't need a lot of space.
I meant to ask you that. The low tone meant the low muscle tone, right?
Yeah,
Tone.
yeah, and I refer to low tone as a catch-all phrase because I see the diagnosis really often, and I understand what it means, but it's one of those things where if I see low tone, to me, it means, all right, they're gonna have deficits in performing these basic movement patterns. So push, pull, hinge, squat, carrying, locomotion, all these things are going to be affected. So I'm not saying the diagnosis shouldn't exist, but it's a diagnosis that, like many, begets more questions. Fortunately, we know how to answer those questions, and that's why we do our PAC profile assessment.
Yes, of course. Did you tell us what the PAC profile was, or is that something that we're...
So that's physical, adaptive, and cognitive.
Okay, yes, that's good. Yeah. That's
right. And that's what we do. Now, we're always following those guidelines, but when I work with an athlete in our first session, what I'll do is our PAC profile assessment, take them through as many of the exercises that I can take them through in that session, and figure out from there, well, what makes sense in terms of their programming to start with. You know, what are our first steps here?
Well, it almost sounds like the student wasn't in the class. I've been here the whole time.
That's right. I know there's a lot of there's a lot of information, and I think at this point I'm infamous for providing subcategories of information to go along with it. Excellent. Because it's important for me, for everybody to come away with the knowledge that yes, your son or daughter also can do this, and even though there's a world of complexity here, there's a lot of structure, and that's what we provide.
So Eric, I was going to tell you that I will, for our next session, I'm going to show you what I'm going to get my son Max to do. And we're going to go through some of the exercises that you have shown today and throughout the warm up. And we're going to see how he does. And you know, he's 5 years old and also nonverbal. So we will be able to put him through the test, and we're going to record that and show that to you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Live when we do our next series.
That's gonna be fun. Yeah, we can go through it in real time, and I love that because you'll get to see some of the things that I see. So through my coaching lens, like what I'm looking at, I think that'll be really helpful.
Oh yeah, that will be good.
And I'm excited because I'm ready to do another assessment now.
Oh no, that's great. And also for other families that are out there, and for those that are getting a chance to watch, or they're watching the rebroadcast, and it's stuff that they could try out, please also continue to put those comments in this feed, so that way Eric will get a chance to review any questions that you may have, and we can revisit for November 9th when we see you again for the second monthly Monday series of Autism Fitness. Wow, Eric, you are awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to say that you didn't get to say? Did I cut you off?
No, you didn't cut me off at all. In fact, you probably should have a couple of times. So I have two things. If you're interested in our Autism Fitness certification level 1, we now have, so it's a 2-part program. The second part is live in person practical sessions that we are going to be offering regionally throughout the United States and eventually throughout the world. So we're going to start in the next couple of weeks, look for our 2021 schedule. So we're giving everybody the information a couple months out, but you can start part 1 of that right now with our new Autism Fitness certification on demand. So
Okay.
you'll get the first 9 curriculum sessions, and it's all information that you can implement immediately, and you can
Basically,
go.
you're going to university here.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep. Yeah. And for those of you who are in the Charlotte area, I have partnered with a great facility here. I am now taking on a limited basis new one-to-one athletes in my practice here. So if you're interested in working directly with me and having an individualized one-to-one program, you can contact me either through autismfitness.com, or you can even send me a direct message through here. So you can just click up, find me, send me a message, and we can set up a discovery call to find out what you need.
Yeah, and don't forget to like Autism Fitness on Facebook and follow. You're on Instagram as well. You're on Twitter. And so definitely everyone is able to reach out and see you. And you're also on YouTube, because you have great YouTube videos. You were doing wonderful exercises and great tips. Mm-hmm. And also showing off even some of the athletes that you work with. So that's really cool too.
Thank you.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, that's all. I started labeling the videos too, because sometimes I'll have athletes, coughing or sneezing directly at me. And I started labeling like, this pre-COVID.
It's like, oh my goodness, you sneeze, you feel bad. It's like, oh my goodness, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm not sick.
And those were my athletes back in New York who are now being served by 2 of my extraordinary level 1 coaches.
Okay.
And I'm building a new stable of Autism Fitness athletes here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, fantastic. We're going to be following you. We're going to be watching out. And I think the kids are coming loose. So I better say goodbye. And thank you so much, Eric, for joining. And all of you that are watching and will be watching, we thank you so much. November 9th at 6 p.m. Monday, Eric's going to be back. He's going to be doing the bear crawl.
Bear walks and crawls.
Bear walk.
And then I'll decide. And if there's something, I'll leave the second exercise open to request. So if you're on this live, or if you want to answer in the comments, what would you like to see?
Give us an animal. Give us an animal, people, and we'll just throw it at Eric and see if he can catch it. So this is wonderful. Thanks so much. You're always a lot of fun, and we can't wait to see you next month.
Thank you very much.
All right. And for all of you viewing on the interwebs, every place, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you for, definitely. Eric, can you please tell everyone your movement tagline?
Oh, yes. Autism Fitness, leading the movement for movement.
Movement for movement. So that's how you get a fit life. That's how you do that right there. Mm-hmm. And thank you for joining me, SusieQ, SusieQ FitLife, and stay fit life strong, everyone. And we'll see you next month. Take care. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care. Bye.